Continuing with the program, we will have the presentation, a window into the future of the Philippines by the followers speakers. Professor Sherman Cruz. He's currently the chair of the Association of Professional Futurists. He's the chair of the Millennium Project Philippine Note, a global foresight research think tank and an advisor to the UNESCO Dubai Future Foundation Global Future Literacy Initiative, the conference chair of the 6th Asia Pacific Future Network, co-organizer of the Global Foresight Summit, partner at the Zero Data 61, Asia Pacific Foresight Group, Australia, and partner at the Supertrends Institute, a Switzerland-based strategic foresight consulting company and senior consultant for business continuity planning and risk management for John Clements Consultants. He's the founder, executive director, and chief futurist of the Center for Engagement Foresight, a strategic foresight and future innovation firm with global operations based in Manila. Professor Cruz is co-founder, vice president, and chief futurist of the Philippine Future Thinking Society, the only professional membership association of futurists and foresight practitioners in the Philippines. He's a supervisor fellow at the DAP GSPDM certificate course on future thinking and part-time faculty at the UP NCPHG embedding future thinking in public policy and governance courses. Also, Dr. Lizan Perante-Calina is the current dean of the Development Academy of Philippines Graduate School of Public and Development Management, the president of the Philippine Society for Public Administration, the president of the Philippine Future Thinking Society, and one of the advisory board members of the Washington Global Institute. She's a distinguished academic scholar, an international publication awardee, author of book and journal, both local and international, and resource person in capacity building programs and conference in the field of public administration. She's an alumna of the University of the Philippines, Diliman, where she finished her master and doctorate degrees in public administration, and of the University of Negros Occidental Recoletos for her undergraduate degree, where she finished cum laude. Dr. Calina enriched her expertise through vast executive course on knowledge-based management program and has undergone training on public policy, case writing, and case teaching from the ADV Institute and the Center on Democracy Development and the Rule of Law. Dr. Reginald Ugaddan is an assistant professor and director at the University of Philippines National College of Public Administration and Governance, Diliman, Quezon City. He serves as an associate professor at the Institute for Public Administration and Governance, Isabel State University, Echagüe, Isabel. He is also a senior researcher in the Research Center for Public Human Resource Development, Sangkyungwan University, Seoul, Korea. He earned his master's and doctorate degree in public administration and the Graduate School of Governance at Sangkyungwan University. He works as a program manager for the Global Master of Public Administration and Master in Public Management for the Latin and Caribbean civil servants. Emmanuel de Guia has been in the forefront of charge in the various initiatives of government since 2012. He has been sharing his forward-looking ideas in the different Senate committees he's been involved in, from 2013 to 2016. He will represent the chairperson of the Senate Committee on Education, Arts, and Culture in several boards of state universities and colleges all over the Philippines. His insight in the SUC boards gave rise to reform in governance in higher school. During the same period, Emmanuel was the committee's representative to the National Commission for the Culture and the Art Boards of Commissioners and in the Board of Trustees of the National Museum of Philippines. You have approximately 50 minutes to complete your presentation. Please turn on your camera and share your presentation. Thank you.
Yes. Who's this again? It says WFSF Conference B. Can you give us a recording power so that we can show us as well our video? We're planning to play a video before we start our presentation. But before that, let me just introduce this session. This is the session on the Philippine Futures Thinking Society, and our aim is to introduce Hiraya Foresight and exhibit the case of the Philippine Futures Thinking Society in democratizing futures thinking knowledge and access through impact research, education, training, and advocacy. Our panel will explore and discuss indigenous finding ways and tools to reconceptualize foresight and its impact by fostering creativity, ethical imagination, anticipatory governance, leadership, and socio-civic praxis. Before I introduce our friends, my colleagues all of us have been introduced. So let me ask now Nicole if we can play the video before we start the session. Yeah, thank you very much. So without further ado, I would like to call on our president, Dean Lizan Perante-Calina, to present to us Hiraya Foresight and the Philippine Futures Thinking Society.
Yeah,
Dean?
thank you, Sherman. And good morning, good evening, good day to everyone. We are from the Philippines, and we would like to share with you features action in the Philippines. So this, as mentioned by Sherman earlier, an exploration on the use of features thinking as a lens to really address some gaps in the Philippines on governance, policy, and other decision making in the bureaucracy. So we explore likewise on how to indigenize the concept features thinking by looking at the different indigenous words, local words, and looking at the local wisdom likewise of this concept. And we find it the purpose to really use or employ hiraya as the word to describe our features or the foresight as a tool and features thinking as a lens. So why hiraya and what is hiraya? Well, this one is an ancient Filipino word that gives the potential of the future of tomorrow to illuminate on the present, or what we call kinabukasan, our future. And we consider here hiraya glows and red shades, for it subsumes a lot of unexpressed meaning and significances and meaning implications. So hiraya is also a wish to someone, like saying, may you reach your dreams, may the wishes of your heart be granted, and hope this COVID-19 comes to pass. And hiraya in its multiple meaning, significances, and meaning implications is about vision, is about cooperation and collaboration. Hiraya is also anticipatory and agile leadership and governance, and equally important that to this, of course, Hiraya implies wisdom and ethics in action. And that's really part of the core area wherein we focus on in applying features thinking and foresight in the Philippines. And of course, as we all know that features thinking and foresight are science-based, we argue that Hiraya implies that the feature can be studied, it can be analyzed, it can be researched and planned. Thus, we want to somehow institutionalize and systematize hiraya in the country. And also, another important thing in foresight and futures thinking is that hiraya is about communication. So it demonstrates communicating a personal feeling from the bottom of our hearts. And of course, one cannot express a greeting sincerely or with some air of pretense. And likewise, as I mentioned earlier, hiraya is ethical, and the hiraya foresight embed not only ethical thinking but critical thinking as well. And it is ethical thinking because no practitioner adopts wicked means in solving present day problems. And really, this is about working towards the common good and well-being of the Filipino citizens, the people, and our beloved country. So this is our hiraya story. The field features is composed of young and dynamic individuals, and we started with a few of us really looking at features thinking as a tool or as a lens in the Philippine bureaucracy. And for the past 15 months, we grew, and the family is really growing. And we also have our senior fellows. And I'd like to emphasize likewise that features action in the Philippines is really about three areas. It's about institutional, it's the participation of the Philippine bureaucracies there. It is likewise a social movement because of the growing interest and passion and commitment of the individuals to be part of futures thinking. And of course, it is individuals, so institutional, societal, organizational, and of course individual. So these are our senior fellows. We have with us one senator, Senator Pia Cayetano. We have people from the academe, Dr. Alex Brillantes and Dr. Maria Oliva Domingo. And likewise, we also have from the Commission on Higher Education, Commissioner Darilag, and another senator, Senator Gatchalian, and of course Michael Jackson. And this field features is composed of advisory board, as the can see here, we have a number of experts coming from different countries. So it's really a global undertaking wherein we also look at the local context. So with that, when we started in 2019, we launched the Philippine Features Thinking Society, and we collaborated with different organizations like the Philippine Society for Public Administration, and also with other institutions, the local government lead agency. And also we took part in promoting youth and features literacy. And this is really about intergenerational fairness, wherein the youth has a big role to play in taking care of this present generation in order not to sacrifice the needs and rights of the next generation. Also, we were able to launch this Features of Educational Learning to Become with UNESCO and the Department of Education and UNACOM as well. And we were able to tell our story globally. And this is one, of course, we joined the Full Spectrum Features and UNESCO's Features Literacy Summit. And this is a collage of what we've been doing for the past 15 months. And it's really features in action in the country. And we've touched across the bureaucracy, including military and other sectors, including, of course, private sector and NGOs. And at the DAP Graduate School, where I am in right now as Dean, we're able to launch this feature studies platform, wherein we're able to offer and still continuing offering a certificate course on features thinking. For the Phil Features, we are in collaboration with institutions like state universities and colleges. That's why we have the so-called Phil Features institution membership and likewise individual members. And of course, we're able to share this insights of ours at the Philippine Senate, where we have a committee on SDGs, innovations, and features thinking. So a lot of topics during the past 15 months have been discussed with our national leaders, and likewise at the lower level in the House of Representatives, we're able to share with them our story. So the point is also to institutionalize features thinking by really embedding it in national policy making. And what you want here is to have an autonomous national government agency to really focus on features thinking in national policy making. So at the moment, we have this program on systematizing Hiraya through research, and we have funding from the government to do research on SDGs and features thinking, basically really looking features thinking as a lens. And likewise, we have this indicative framework wherein we'll look at features, leadership, and governance, a bit for holistic approach to carving out desirable features. And one unique thing really is the inclusion of leadership in introducing features thinking in the Philippines. And of course, looking at the context, we included our vision as a country, our Filipino values, and our motto, and that would lead likewise to well-being and common good of the Filipino people. So this is just a collage of the certificate course that we are offering at the DEP Graduate School. And I'm glad to share with you that we also have this program for our senior government officials. Right now, we are on our third batch, and we'll have our graduation later today. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, we have this platform. It's an innovation KI Hub Lab. It's a platform wherein we really put together all our activities, and one of which is feature studies education. So these are some of the features thinking incorporation or embedding in our education and training programs. So the institutionalization part there is one, the support from the government, and also we receive working paper series from our scholars, and likewise articles from our experts. Like Sherman, for example, we have this study from resilient to regenerative city features, reimagining Philippine cities in 2050 through scenarios and coastal layered analysis, and a lot more. And of course, we have a number of decalogo, or this is what we call knowledge co-creation activity. And decalogo is another Filipino ancient word, which means about really talking about governance. And we have another space, as we call it, feature space, wherein you see we have the global experts there sharing their insights about futures thinking with our co-learners. And we also touched on um, on peace. So this one, it's about the regional local peace executives learn to think like safety. And we signed a memorandum of agreement with DILG4A to really establish features, Hiraya Features Collab. So it's a platform wherein we'll do knowledge co-creation activities. And of course, another activity is on the evidence-based policy making, wherein we bridge features thinking and policy process. And we're able to share likewise our thoughts on this before the private HEIs or higher educational institutions, and a lot more. Actually, as you can see here in the photos, these are all events that have been conducted already, and we were able to share this to of our brothers and sisters in the Philippines. So how to institutionalize, of course, we have the certificate courses, we have features thinking masterclass and moonshots activities. And really, when we look at features thinking, looking for a home here in the Philippines, its home is in the field of public administration, particularly in policy process. And really the whole range of foresight and features thinking activities include foresight education, research training, but equally important, really, the public advocacy that we are doing right now. And at this point in time, we are still in the process of calling for research proposals on reimagining sustainable development features today. So that's part of our knowledge co-creation. And later on, maybe we can really have this master in public management major in feature studies. So that's end my presentation. And I'd like to say that as we democratize features thinking in the Philippines, it is really high time to discover and tap our local knowledge and wisdom. Thus, we have the so-called Hiraya Foresight as an indigenous base of features thinking. Onto you, Sherman. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lizan. Of course, in Manila, it's around like 2:16 a.m. right now. So it's pretty kind of early for us. And perhaps it's almost like an hour from midnight, after midnight. So let me turn over to you now, to Dr. Reginald Ugaddan. And perhaps let's hear from him about his experiences and insights, lessons learned, takeaways after a several months or over a year of field futures or Hiraya foresight, knowledge co-creation, research, education, and advocacy. In both in government, in the academic, and in the social civic sector. Dr. Reggie, your thoughts?
Yeah, thank you very much, Sherman, and also Dean Lizan for the presentation a while ago. We've been telling this story, of course, about field futures thinking society in the Philippines, or talking about futures thinking, if we have to look at that. I think it's really gaining a lot of popularity here in the Philippines since we started this last year. It's just a talk. I think Dean Lizan has mentioned this a while ago. Just the three of us before. Right? It was Lizan, me, and Sherman that just had a conversation about of trying to build a society, an organization like this now. And as I can see it, it's more of a movement here in the Philippines. Among civil servants, I think it's been a talk of the town, if you may, right? Or even in the academy now, they're also bringing in the perspective of futures thinking or strategic foresights, much more in the field of public administration, that trying to really reimagine or try to reinvent as well, right? The traditional approaches in teaching public policy, right? Embedding this perspective of strategic foresight. So until now, I can't really imagine the gains that we already have in field futures thinking society, the efforts of democratizing this the skill or the competency of futures thinking. Sherman.
Yeah, that's a good point. In fact, since last year when we started having conversation about creating a network, uh, each and every one of us were influencers, or perhaps have I wouldn't say a massive network, but a network that we could leverage on to amplify the effort to democratize futures thinking and foresight in the Philippines. And I would see that the effort was from the outside into the inside out, because in one way or another, directly, indirectly, we are also part of the government sector, but at the same time, we also operate in a network. And with that, as you could see before, before Dean Lizan made her presentation, the video just shows us, the extent of the activities and engagements that we had over several months. And I would like to ask, Dean Lizan on this, and Reginald perhaps can also pitch in. I would like to hear from you. Any lessons learned from this in terms of ways by which we can improvise and experiment in the way we approach the sectors that we would like to engage in or connect with, and of course, in terms of Hiraya foresight, how is it evolving in the process?
Yeah, actually, it's a pretty tough thing to do in really introducing futures thinking in the Philippines. It's a new concept almost for everyone, but it's not really new in the Philippines. Actually, it started sometime in the 1970s, way back when then President Marcos, introduced about it, no? And later on, there were interested individuals who'd like to embed futures thinking in the bureaucracy, but it did not materialize. And in 1980s, there was this futures thinking organization, but it did not materialize. And in the 2012, Sherman and other teams introduce it in the Philippines. But it's really only this time that when we are in this kind of situation, we're able to really maximize on how are we going to democratize and promote futures thinking in the Philippines. So really, it's about democratizing futures thinking. It's really about knowledge co-creation, introduce it in a subtle way, rather than really pushing it hard for the government to adopt it. And the first thing that we really have to do is to capacity, to co-create knowledge, a platform, actually an open platform. And that's what we've been doing in the past 15 months. We created knowledge co-creation activities through webinars. Actually, this COVID-19 presented a good opportunity for us to really introduce futures thinking. So lessons learned, there are some constraints. One, of course, is the system and the mindset of our national and local leaders and individuals likewise. But in the academia, it's not really hard to introduce it because some of us find it a purpose to include that within public administration governance and in policy making. So for the past 15 months, here we are. We've been really penetrating state universities and colleges, and likewise at the local governance level and national local governance level, as Reggie mentioned earlier, there's really an interest and a commitment to study and to learn what is futures thinking all about. Yeah.
Sherman, if I may add as well, for public administrators or scholars in public administration, we always look at how different streams are coming in together. For example, the problem stream there, the policy stream and the politics stream. If you remember that, it seems that I can see it how this the movement or how the interest in futures thinking or strategic foresight here in the country, because all those streams seems to have, they went all together. I mean, the coupling process, or if we can look at how this, the three streams jointly or effectively, working together now towards that kind of interest. The problem maybe, as Dina mentioned a while ago about the COVID-19, but now people are thinking beyond COVID-19, right? What might happen? They're thinking now about what might happen in the future, or how the futures might look like, right, in the public sector. In the policy, the policy streams there, you can see interest as well among power elites, among policy makers, right? And they're taking it really, or embracing this idea. And we have that kind of, if I may, this kind of mood, a national mood, thinking about the future, and people are really working or advocating as well to look at about the future. That's why what we're doing now, it's more of the Phil Futures Thinking Society is an instrument really in arousing this interest, or even educating our people, right? That very soon, as you can see it now, it's going towards a kind of a movement, right? So I think that's how I see it as well, right? How the different sectors, the phenomenon, the condition that have brought us to this kind of condition nowadays.
Yeah, it's good that you mentioned that, Reggie, because, as I see it, futures thinking and strategic foresight has become I would say, a governance or a public policy discourse in the Philippines, because there is a strong push from the Philippine Senate, particularly the Senate Committee on SDGs and Innovation Thinking, which the chair is Senator Pia Cayetano, has been emphasizing and accentuating futures and foresight in the different departments of the national government, and also in the academic community, which is, of course, highlighted by the fact that the Philippine Society for Public Administration, which is, of course, led by President Dean Lizan as well, who is the president of the Philippine Futures Thinking Society, there had been an increasing interest and conversation in the Philippine in the Philippine Society for Public Administration, and as I've seen it for almost 2 years now, the conversation about ways on how to embed and integrate this in public policy process and governance, including knowledge, is becoming apparent in the public administration society, which is pretty quite unique when you try to compare it to other public administration societies in the world. In fact, I've heard, correct me if I'm wrong, Dean Lizan, who's also the president of the PSPA, is that the organization is considering of including futures thinking as one of the pillars of Philippine public administration. And other than that, is you also have the socio-civic sector, who are seeing which is having an increasing interest in futures and foresight. And apparently, when you try to blend and network all of these stakeholders and forces wherein they congregate in the Philippine Futures Thinking Society, the conversation, the opportunities that futures and foresight conversation create is just becoming, I would say that, the situation of futures and foresight right now, as we tried to, and the expectation was that it was much better than how it was, and how we expected it to happen, right? So my question now is, as the community grows and advocacy intensifies, in terms of futures thinking and foresight, what role can Phil Futures Thinking do, or to sustain this? Any thoughts?
Yeah. Before I answer that, I'd like to show you this growth and development of public administration as a field. And I already incorporated this in our, can you see my slide now? Am I presenting it?
Not yet, not yet.
That's it. Okay. So basically, actually, this is what we call the evolution of public administration in the Philippines. And by really doing that and really, what do you call this? Trying to really influence the mindset of our co-learners, scholars, and practitioners in public administration, we have to add that as part of modern public administration or contemporary public administration. And many public administration scholars and practitioners around the globe are really pushing for the features of public administration. And there are other labels to that, like by Ali Farasman. He mentioned that it is about surprise management theory. So it's really about anticipation. It's really about foresight. But here in the Philippines, as you can see here, PAS governance from the 1990s to present, I incorporated the knowledge co-creation and frenetic leadership, and that's really all about management also. And at present, we have the so-called policy foresight and features thinking. So this is one of the emerging trends in public administration, and really from traditional classical public administration, we have to think about modern and contemporary public administration, how to make, of course, the field and the practice relevant in today's era. So that's one really one area wherein we are pushing for the embedding and institutionalization of futures thinking in public administration and governance. And going back to your question, what can we how are we going to sustain the gains now? Sustaining the gains of what we've planted and what we've really introduced is one of the difficult things to do, but if you have that passion and commitment to really sustain the gains, it's not that difficult at all. If you have a group of or a team member, a team no looking into it and really studying what more can we do in order for us to really institutionalize features thinking in the Philippines. And another thing, of course, is that it is through knowledge sharing. It is really through knowledge sharing and influencing each other that features thinking is an appropriate tool. Actually, it's a 21st century competence and skill set that we need to embrace. We need to be anticipatory. And as we've discussed before, days ago or weeks ago, we talked about the anticipatory mindset of the Filipino people. And according to Hofstede, Dr. Reg, we rank low compared to other countries. So if we take a look at that, there's really gap in governance. And by addressing these gaps, we have to look at the emerging trends when it comes to tools that can we use in order to improve our mindset in introducing sound policies in the government sector, and of course, provide practical application of that one.
Yeah, Reggie, would you like to add into that?
Yeah, I just want to take it from the Lizan's statement a while ago about the if you're going to look at the culture right here in the Philippines. I mean, societal and also in the it's reflecting also in the organizational culture. We have this, and it's very glaring, right? The very myopic or short-termist thinking or approach. And as you can see that Hofstede were very correct there, that we are, we have that short-termist and myopic approach in doing things. And I think that's really what, it's really hard for us to move. And it's making those very minute steps. And it's actually because of that kind of thing or the culture that we have here in the country that makes it more hard for us to innovate or even to just to have that kind of adaptive thinking, maybe just to think about just working within or just not thinking out of the box. That's something that we have really to overcome. And I think Phil Futures Thinking Society has been making a lot of a leap on that area. trying to remove or to really encourage or democratizing or educating our people, not only our civil servants or those who are working in the government, to think really innovatively or think or to challenge the status quo. I mean, that's one way as well, that challenging the status quo for us really to have that leap that we are expecting, that for us to achieve that direction that we want, or the preferred future that we want for the preferred future of our people. I just want also to comment on the statement a while ago that, of course, what we have here now, the Phil Futures or the policy foresight of futures thinking, you can really easily or associate it to the public administration in the Philippines, but it's not only in the public administration. Now, other fields are other areas. I mean, this approach has been going through a kind of a multidisciplinary perspective now. And they are having this kind of collaboration, different fields or different areas on addressing issues. You can see some emerging partnership collaboration of different fields like public administration, to that of the engineering, to that of other fields. I mean, that's something that we are also looking at. They are not that well popular now, but they are emerging. I mean, they're moving towards that kind of direction. And even in the private sector may have the advanced perspective, and they are also going, they're trying to build or to enhance that anticipatory perspective or the kind of idea, right, on governance here in the country.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Referring to the study made by Hofstede, and which is, of course, is a tool on the long-term orientation index, wherein if you try to check the rank, in terms of the indicators included in the long-term orientation index and the short-term orientation or process that we have in public policy, I would just like to ask, what are the usual questions that people are asking, politicians, policymakers, the military folks, public health people about futures and foresight? What are the usual questions they're asking you when every time you meet with them, facilitate workshop, speaking engagement, the usual Q&As?
Yeah, well, we had one encounter, right, with local officials that they don't really believe in the so-called futures thinking and what will be the role of futures thinking in governance. It's really all about, traditional way of thinking and doing things that, it's because of leadership. We can't do that. We cannot introduce that, and it will not really materialize. But when we further elaborate on what we've done so far, and when they saw all these things and activities that we've been doing for the past 15 months, they're trying to believe that, okay, so it's possible to really have futures thinking in the Philippines as part of public administration and governance. And of course, as we talk about public administration governance, what we really want is to capacitate. Administrative capacity is very important, and the capacity of our policymakers will really lead. No, what I'm saying here is futures thinking is an approach towards sustainable development. If we will not capacitate them to look at futures thinking as a lens in public administration governance, then sustainable development or development will fall. And we'll have weak states, hollow states for that matter. So again, it's really about continuing capacity building, continuing education, especially now the Philippines will be on an election stage next year. And there's another challenge, of course, for all of us at the Philippine Futures Thinking Society to educate and capacitate our newly elected officials in 2022, and how are they going to change mindset when it comes to long-term orientation? And of course, what another thing that they're telling us, there's a constraint here, and the constraint is system, and that system is about the 3-year term, no, and so on and so forth. But we really have to argue in a very subtle way that features thinking as a lens or a handle in development and as an approach will really lead us to a better future.
Yeah, Sherman, if I may also share this, we just had this conversation, right, with vice governors. I mean the provincial government level. The question that I usually get, not only from these vice governors, are they talk about sustainability, right? And then you can just, because the change of leadership, how can we really be sure? How can we have this kind of of futures thinking or thinking about strategic foresight or bringing these ideas? How can we really be sure that that leaders that we will take our scenarios, and if we have these different scenarios, those are the common questions that we've been receiving among our government officials. And as always, my answer to this is the answer that's given by Lizan. I think we should stop educating our people. I mean, we shouldn't stop capacitating them. It's more of arousing their sensibilities, I think, and to continuously educate, capacitate, educate, and educate them. I think that's one way for us to really gain our the momentum, as well as sustaining our gains. And I think Lizan is very correct there. Even now in the National College of Public Administration, we're embracing that futures thinking. The strategic foresight should always be, as a kind of base as a base or a foundational theory or perspective, if you may, in all in all your teachings, because that will really give us, or that will lead us again, not forgetting the perspective of futures thinking, as well as bringing that perspective of the futures. I think that's one way for us to really address the issue. I also mentioned about talking, not only talking about education. Of course, those are important components of how we can really influence our local government officials or civil servants here. Bringing the perspective also, strategic foresight or futures thinking plus public value. I've been telling this as always, public value, meaning, it's more of co-creation. I mean, we can really achieve that public value if people are really capacitated, that they are capable of creating something for themselves, or they are already collaborating or partnering with the government. And I've been telling them as well that the center, as always, we may have these different scenarios, we may have this different perspective for the future. But if that future is always on your own benefit or your own interest, I think that's something that we may fail. We failed in educating you. That's why education, strategic foresight, futures thinking, plus public value, as Lizan have mentioned already, the perspective of leadership, frenetic leadership can really embolden or maybe strengthen the foundation or the direction of futures thinking in the country.
Yeah, Sherman,
Yeah,
very quickly, I just
sure.
want to add to that point. Actually, the role of Philippine Futures Thinking Society is really to sustain the gains. And we've been talking about temporary, leadership. There's always a change in leadership, issues on short-termism. So the Philippine Futures Thinking Society was organized as a professional organization, independent, with the government. So no matter who will be the next leaders in 2022, still the Philippine Futures Thinking Society is there as an independent body to sustain the gains and continue democratizing futures thinking in the country.
Yeah, that's a good point, Dean Lizan, because apparently for the Philippine Futures Thinking Society, as mentioned as well by Reggie, is that it's becoming a societal movement of futurists and foresight practitioners and futures enthusiasts and learners in the Philippines. So apparently for futures and foresight, it is also looking beyond government as well, because it's an independent organization. It's a socio-civic organization, and it aims to sustain it by, while government access and connections and network are important, is that futures is really about people, right? And citizenry, and the public citizens, the public realm, which is of course far more bigger and larger than the government sector. Now I would just like to ask this, time check, it's 2:44. Recently, the OECD, in its recent Global Futures Community Summit that was held several months ago, it was reported in there, and in fact, after the UN has published, the Secretary General, our common agenda, and one of the things that was highlighted there was the interest, of the United Nations pivot into strategic foresight. And my question now is it possible for nation states or public societies or societies per se, or people to build an anticipatory government, or if they succeed, the idea of building an anticipatory nation? Is that possible? Building an
Yeah.
anticipatory nation or an anticipatory society. Is that really possible? Let's just say 20 to 30 years from now. Given the fact that UN is now saying that, okay, strategic foresight is an important competency in public sector governance, and UNDP is saying that it is an important element of public sector excellence. Imagine 20 to 30 years from now, government has incorporated, strategic foresight as a part of its day-to-day, business, from strategic to tactical to operation. Is it possible, for a nation to become anticipatory? What do you think?
Well, I'd like to draw your attention likewise to the publication of United Nations about changing mindset. And it talks about changing mindset as an approach towards sustainable development, and looking at an anticipatory government or an anticipatory nation. It's really all about changing the mindset of the people, the constituents, starting with, of course, with our policymakers, with our local and national leaders. And by looking at that, we'll be able to change cultural organization culture, likewise, individual culture, the way we think and the way we do things. And anticipation will really drive us to looking at emerging trends and using trend analysis, of course. And I'd like to cite Singapore, right? Singapore, for example, they have in their civil service system, they have two teams. One team is focused on day-to-day activities, and the other team is really talking about or looking at anticipatory things, looking future forward, looking mindset for that matter. And they were able to embed that in their culture. And in the Philippines, it is possible, but of course, it will take a lot of initiatives, passion, and commitment, and of course, maybe a features thinking caravan, which we are doing also. And just imagine for the past 15 months, how many individuals and institutions we've somehow positively influenced, and they are with us, supporting us all the way to really incorporate this and embed. So for me, because of the interest of many individuals, and as you mentioned, it's moving towards a direction that this is a societal movement, then it will be possible in the next 2030 or 2050, 40. And I'd like also to point out that in 2022, we'll be crafting our Philippine Development Plan, right? So we are hoping to really participate in that kind of of study, that will be able to include anticipatory governance mindset as an approach towards sustainable development here in the country.
Yeah, if I may add also to that, I think the framework that we have, the Phil Futures Thinking Society, is a very good framework towards that anticipatory state, or maybe a state that more that have the kind of anticipation. Democratizing futures thinking, I think that's through education is the key towards that. I think that's something that we, Phil Futures Thinking Society is on it already, right? And we just have to really bring more, or maybe to expand more, or to educate more, right? It's like educate, and educate. I think, and until we reach that kind of, just like the target that we have, that herd immunity, it's more of an educated community towards anticipatory governance. I think that's a very good framework that we've adopted in the Phil Futures Thinking Society in answer to that UNDP's call, a direction towards that anticipatory state.
Yes. Thank you for that. Now, before I ask you, for your final thoughts and remarks and conclude this session, I would like to ask Nicole, to play in a coming event by the Philippine Futures Thinking Society, and we would like to invite everyone, to who are, in the World Future Studies Federation. The Phil Futures is also an institutional member of the World Future Studies Federation, and we're thankful that they gave us the opportunity to share, the Hiraya Foresight experience and the Philippine Futures Thinking Society. Now, we would like to invite everyone to join us and sign up, for the upcoming Philippine Futures Thinking Society Summit on November 12 to 14. So if we can play that video, let's play it now, and then, of course, some concluding remarks from Dean Lizan and Reggie.
The Future Summit is the first scenario and action-driven gathering on the futures of education, work, and technology in the Philippines. Inspired by the Millennium Project Work and Technology Report 2050, UNESCO's Learning to Become, global initiatives on futures literacy, and the hearings and proceedings of the Senate Committee on Sustainable Development Goals, Innovations, and Futures Thinking, the Future Summit will reveal, reframe, reimagine, and consolidate strategies and insights on the futures of education, work, and technology. This gathering is centered on a human-focused, regenerative, nature-first, and indigenous perspective.
Inspired by UNESCO's Learn to Become, how will knowledge and learning can shape the future of humanity and the planet? What if today's learners become what they ought to become by 2050? What if learning becomes highly creative, imaginative, and neuroscience-driven? What if professors were knowledge entrepreneurs? What if non-traditional learning paths become the new norm? What if there are 1.5 billion content and knowledge creators by the year 2050? How might a multiversity look like?
What if our algorithms and developers have a deep sense and understanding of inclusivity, diversity, ethics, among other values that we cherish the most as human beings? How might we ensure open access, universal, and equitable coverage of frontier technologies for the benefit of humanity and the planet? How might we create frontier technologies with a conscience and build citizens' trust? Learning to learn, live, and work with frontier technologies in a highly interconnected world is both an opportunity and a challenge. The first Phil Futures Summit seeks to explore and discover these questions. And imagine, how might an augmented and virtual society look like in 2050?
Embarking from the Philippine Senate Resolution number 865, how might we prepare for changing the industry landscapes? How might we prepare for jobs that are not yet created? How might we foster change from an employment culture to a self-actualization culture? How might education and technology be used to strengthen the capacity of the workforce of the future? What are the strategies we might take to transform our human resources to be productive and self-actualized? What would transformation look like in public organization culture, structure, and processes? How might organizations strategize to become resilient and future-proof? How might workers and employers adapt to the changing norms and standards? What would the future of work look like in the public sector?
The Field Future Summit will be a virtual conference to spark conversations and gather intelligence, explore underlying issues, map emerging risks and opportunities, build future competencies and capabilities to craft anti-fragile programs and policy agenda.
The pamantasan ng lungsod ng Valenzuela takes pride in being the first local university and a founding institutional member of the Philippine Futures Thinking Society. Tara na, tayo'y maglayag tungo sa Hiraya 2050.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Nicole. Now we have 5 minutes of concluding remarks from President Lizan and Reggie.
Yeah. So to conclude, new approaches to governance are much needed, which can help institutions express the triple A's: anticipatory, agile, and adaptive governance, summed up as anticipatory governance. So I'd like to quote also Ramos saying that anticipatory governance denotes collaborative and participatory processes and systems for really exploring, envisioning, direction setting, developing strategy, and experimentation for a region and for the country. Philippines. Thank you.
Reg?
Yeah, for me, I just want maybe just to invite everyone to the upcoming future summit here in the Philippines, November 12 to 14. I think one thing I would like to just share, Philippine Futures Thinking Society, the futures thinking or the strategic foresight perspective, have actually reignited our hope, our hiraya, towards that preferred future. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Okay, that's a good way to end this session, igniting the Filipino Hiraya through the power of foresight. And again, congratulations to the World Future Studies Federation, to Eric and Derek, and of course, the entire WFSF board for this amazing event this year. And again, thank you very much on behalf of the Philippine Futures Thinking Society and the Association of Professional Futurists. Back to you, Alithia, and good morning from the Philippines.
Hey, I say from my partner from Peru, Jonathan, to me. So it's good to see you, everybody. And great conference. And we have a comment in the chat from Sirka Heinonen. Congratulations, Sherman et al. Amazing progress in catalyzing future thinking and Hiraya foresight. You are doing foresight of the heart. Okay. And thank you. Okay. So it was great. It was lots of perspectives. We want that, right? So it's really great to have you here, and thank you so much.